In the movies, computer security or passwords get hacked in about 5 seconds. Probably because the criminals have read the script. In real life, well, sometimes it feels they know your script. They're out there trying to get into your computer, and we're going to show you a couple common sense things you might know. It's good to be reminded or just think about things that can make your computer safer. Now, these are common sense things that have nothing to do with which programs you have or what computers you have. It's just things to think about, and also if you're dealing with youngsters sometimes in families, they should know about these things. We'll just get right in with 3 things. The first thing that we're going to talk about is phishing with the funny spelling. Basically, phishing comes from criminals, and you got to think of them as criminals, folks. They're trying to get something from you, maybe a password, maybe a bank account number, and they're trying to lure you, hence the name phishing, into giving that to you. Now, to start with this, it usually comes in the form of email, even text messaging now, but I just want to do a little elementary, and sorry if this is really elementary for most folks, but when you're dealing with hyperlinks, those links that you click and you'll go somewhere, to do it anywhere, you put in a hyperlink. Here you just do a right click and then you add the address of where you want someone to go. So if I want to talk about the Office training site, I just put that URL now, and then someone clicks on that webinar, they'll go there. But as you probably noticed, I can add anything to this hyperlink. I could put any address in here that I wanted to. So if I had a place I wanted to lure you into, like I'm going to get you.com. That's just a made-up site. As you can see, the word training, though, appears in the slide like nothing else has changed. So you click on that, you don't know where you're going. So to know how hyperlinks work is kind of important. And well, let's go over and show you a couple things. I'm going to go to a site that you can get to. I have the links in the blog. The Microsoft Safety and Security site that has a couple pages we'll talk about today that kind of show you other examples of what happens in these phishing scams that emails are sent to you. And they usually come from very popular places, things you know about: Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft. And they try to get you to click on certain links. Now, sometimes you'll notice there's usually a threat involved, like, "Ooh, you better do this or something might happen." Or sometimes you even see spelling errors because they're run through machines and done with people that don't know. Well, that happens. The things look bad. I have an example I'll show you in just a second. But if you look below here, if you put your mouse above any link, you should get this pop-up which shows you the link, where the link is going. So what that hypertext is that I added in the last slide, you can see what it is. So this says it's going to a bank, but actually, if I clicked on the link, it goes to this IP address, and who knows what that is? That could be anything. So if you're suspicious about any email or anything, check the links by just mousing over them. Now, I had a couple examples, and Greg gave me a couple great examples, and we have a couple maybe we'll show in the Q&A, but I actually got one sent to me yesterday in mail, so I'm just going to show you that in my email. Now, this was actually captured by the filters we have in Outlook. They captured it and put it in my spam, but I wanted to show this because I thought it was another example. As you notice in the left-hand column, it says it's from Amazon. And over on the right-hand side, those are the fonts that Amazon uses on their site and in some of their emails. And it's talking about this order, and there's to get the order, you need to click on this file we've sent you. So there's no link here. It says open this zip file to learn about your order, which I'm not going to do for even $1 million. Well, maybe $1 million. If you had $1 million, maybe I do it for $1 million. But there's other things to notice here. This says it's from Amazon, but look at the top where it says Amazon Security. It's Amazon Security at pagessuitepro.com. It's not even an Amazon address. This is a very poor phishing. It's not a really sparkly lure, I guess. It's also sent to many Doug Thomases, as you can see in the address line, and I just happen to be one of the 10 or 12 that's in there. So again, it could be links, it could be things they want you to click on, and download that are these phishing schemes. I mean, it's interesting. When we see something in the email that says, "Hey, click here, you've won a lot of money," we think, "Oh, that's a problem. That's a lie." But when someone threatens you, like your bank card account has a problem, we often think, "Ooh, maybe it does." So it's just words and links, folks. It's just words and links, and think about them as you go through your email. Let's go over to the next phase, which is stronger passwords. One of the problems with passwords is the word password. It's too short. You think of one word for passwords. There's two tests that I think passwords need to test, and this is just my theory. One is kind of what I call a human test, and one is a machine test. And we want to try to get passwords that are stronger, and we'll show you why for both reasons. But passwords don't think of them as single words, because you need length, and we'll show you why that's really important in just a second. So one of the things that people talk about is you can use phrases for passwords they can be easy to remember. It doesn't have to be something complicated. Again, I'm going to go over to the Microsoft Safety and Security site and show you a tool here they have about creating strong passwords. And there's even you can test your own here on this site. So here's an example phrase. I love my new Xbox One. Very subtle advertising by Microsoft here. I like that. I'm a fan of subtle advertising. You can turn that into a password, though, below here by just taking out the spaces and turning the 1 into a number 1, and then adding an exclamation point in between two words. So you have an uppercase, lowercase, and you have a punctuation. And you have a long password, 16 characters. That's a nice password. I'll show you why in just a second, a couple different reasons. And it's also easy to remember. Now, some password tools will not allow you to put this in because any word in the English dictionary they don't want you to use, because those are things that hackers use to get in. And again, that's where passwords come in handy, that you want something stronger. You want to stay away from biographical names. You want to stay away from your mate's name, your kids' names. There was a very famous case in the 2012 presidential primary where one of the candidates' sites got hacked because someone was just guessing at passwords, and it was one of the kids' names of the candidate. That's how they got in. Also, one password you don't use is the word password. It's I don't know how they get this list, but it's the 4th most used password. The most popular password, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If I went to every single device in the world, I would probably get into 10% of them just by typing that the first time. So that's that human test. You want something that's not biographical information, that's not the word password, that's not just a simple number combination. So now if I type in the word password into this little tool, it gets a little bit better rating because of 8 characters. 8 is the start of getting any good passwords. You want more. I'll show you why in a second. But if I put in this I love my new Xbox, that of course gets a very nice rating because it's complex and it has a variety of things, and it's long. Again, length is really important. So again, something that passes that eyeball test. Now, speaking of an eyeball test, I'm not going to ask for answers here, but look at these two passwords. Which one do you think is stronger? Now, I think anyone in the tech industry, this is like the first passwords that I would get. Upper, lower case, very hard to memorize, at least for people like me. Has punctuation, very mix of things. The other one at the top looks pretty darn easy. I mean, it doesn't pass the eyeball test. Your 4-year-old could figure that one out if they view it once. But would it surprise you to know in many cases that top one is actually stronger? And it's because of the length of password is very important. When you're dealing with criminals that are working with machines that run numbers, and you've seen them in movies kind of, right, where they put the numbers and they run the numbers really fast. Now, they're usually not going after your email, they're going after bigger items, but that technology is out there. So that's where the length of your password is one of the most important things. It can't be a simple word, but it has to be complex and it has to be long. There was an article in the New York Times I read a couple years ago that has really made me change my passwords. And they talk about this brute force password. And it leads to this site that someone made called How Big Is Your Haystack? We'll have links to this in the blog. And this basically is looking at the complexity, but basically the length of your password is vitally important. For example, if I type in the word, if I type in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, again, it's not complex. And look at the numbers in the pink there. That's how fast some attacks happen in these online attack scenarios where you have thousands of guesses per second. So that's just not someone typing in, okay? And then even, 100 billion guesses per second. Now, if that number is just, I can't comprehend it. But you got to know machines comprehend it pretty easily. There's a new book by Michael Lewis who wrote Moneyball about Wall Street and how nanoseconds and these little tiny fractions can really game the system. So those numbers for machines are important. And there's even this other one of 100 trillion guesses per second, which I can't even comprehend. But again, let's look at those numbers and see what passwords do. So if I type in 8 random characters and do a mix of lowercase, uppercase, I get something that in a scenario, again, that's going to be hard to guess for someone just typing in. That's going to be, I would think, impossible. An online attack scenario is going to take a long time to get there. But as you get into these faster tools, it's only going to take hours or even seconds. Okay? So that's where length comes in, is an important factor of your password. Let's go back and use that toy example. So uppercase T, a number, lowercase y, an exclamation point. Again, not that complex to start. But as I start adding characters, look at the numbers here in the pink. There's 8 characters. We're talking hours or minutes. There's 9 characters. There's 10 characters. Now for that middle scenario, which is a pretty good security, it's going to take years, not hours, for it to comprehend. Now, that trillion guess one, again, that's going to be really high technology. That's still pretty weak. But again, just adding a couple characters will do it. You want to add a couple more? Let's add 12 characters. Now we're talking centuries of computing power. So if I plug in the that I love Xbox one, look at the numbers. Trillions and millions, you're Carl Sagan, millions and billions of centuries of computing power just by adding extra characters. So that's an important aspect. One thing that I talk about when I talk to people with passwords is dealing with a set of passwords. Now, your main things, Microsoft account, your email, if that's different, Facebook, LinkedIn, those should be unique passwords. But like everyone else, I use the same password here and there. But what I try to do is a variety of them. And what I tell people is think of a controlled set, not something that you can, like colors, there's too many. This is baseball teams in the American League West. There's only 5, and I know them pretty well. Unfortunately, this is not the order they will finish during the end of the year. So, but I know the set, and what I'm going to do is I want to make these so they're not in the English language either. So all I'm going to do is very simple. The first lowercase vowel, I'm going to plug a number in, and not O for 0, just any number, maybe your favorite, maybe your favorite single digit. The last vowel in the term, I'm going to change to a character. A punctuation. So there you go. So now I have 5 passwords that are easy for remember, that are complex, that are going to be hard to guess, and even if you glance at it quickly, you may not comprehend what it is, like that toy one. And they're very good. Now these pass high numbers on both those tests, with the exception of the Houston and the Texas ones are actually a little short. So if you have a password you'd like to use from time to time and you don't want to redo it, just add a couple characters and you get to that longer, the hacking scenario will have a harder time into getting into. We're running late here, but I just wanted to touch briefly on one last subject, which is called grayware. Grayware happens when you want to download something, maybe a screen grab tool or some utility you want for your computer, and you search online and maybe you go to the first result. You want to go to the official place where it comes from, especially if it's a tool from like a Microsoft or an Apple or something like that. But if you're just going out there and just finding something that maybe everyone has it for $3 and you find one place that has it for free, well, you think, well, this is a bargain. I'll do it for free. You want to go after the reputable places and just not the first thing you see on search results. And the reason why is they actually give you that product. Great, you have it, you can use it, but they've added some other stuff to your computer. And the way they did that was this little agreement. Now, this is one for Microsoft DirectX. I just wanted to put up a one. But we've seen these all the time, right? And we read every single word, every time, right? We just don't click accept. Well, that's what grayware does, is they will actually put in the agreement that we're going to put this other thing on your computer. It may be an ad, it may be a toolbar in your browser, maybe something that pops up that says, hey, here, go over to this site. It's because we accepted this agreement that they can add that stuff to your computer legally, that kind of gray area of the law. And it might be even more nefarious. It might say, this will add, and then we can add other stuff to your computer too down the line. And you have to go and find the program and delete it. So find the reputable places. Just don't download from the first thing you see. Search around and find those ones. There are sites on the web that will tell you about better download sites than the other. But maybe also, I'm not going to tell you to look over every word, but if it's something, you might want to just kind of do a quick peek at the agreement to see if that's something you're doing. If it's not some place that you trust. A lot of information done very quickly. I have links to all the things I've talked about at aka.ms/safe123. You can find information there.